Interior Chinatown is one of the best shows this fall. I'm so excited for people to see it. I'm talking with author, series creator, showrunner Charles Yu, and then EP director, Oscar winner Taika Waititi. So, Charles, I'll let you do the honor. This is your show, your story. Tell us what Interior Chinatown's all about.
Interior Chinatown is, thank you, first of all. Interior Chinatown is about Willis Wu and his family. Willis is a guy who lives in Chinatown, but he finds himself kind of at the edge of a very interesting, weird world. And he basically tries to be part of a larger story. And what we watch in the course of the season is him basically leveling up and entering that story and trying to go from background guy to main character.
Such a great premise. I was so hooked from the beginning. And Taika, obviously, that's probably what brought you to this. But you're directing the first episode. You're an EP on the series. What brought you to Interior Chinatown?
I think it was the world. Charles was writing, and just the idea of the story really spoke to me. And coming from New Zealand, I think we're often, way down the list in terms of the conversation or being included in anything in the rest of the world. So, I felt like this is a great way to speak to that. And the world and the complexity of it that Charles created. I will admit, most of the time I was really struggling to figure it out. I was like, remember, I'd come to you, I'd be like, what is happening in this point of the story? And so Charles was sort of the mastermind and the architect of everything. And so you kind of I had to rely heavily on him understanding all the intricacies of the world to get that. So, but it was a really fun ride, and to also create a show where a lot of the styles of the shooting and everything that we did, they also related to like what version of reality we were in as well. So it's like a really mind-boggling, great world to be in, and to be part of that felt very special.
It's a very special show. It's so important to have these voices heard in this kind of way. Obviously, people might compare it to Free Guy, but I can promise you the book was made before Free Guy was ever in development. It's such a great show. And Charles, what about this? You get to expand upon your universe in this series, and hopefully we get additional seasons. What about that is exciting for you?
I mean, continuing to live in this world and get to, the first season sets up relationships of these characters, and we get to see, without spoiling it, they're sort of stripping off of layers until we're seeing them more and more kind of authentic. Everyone's playing a role, but as the season goes on, the roles start to evolve and people start to show more of themselves and be less guarded. And I think that's something that's always been interesting to me, is sort of sincerity.
It's just like real life. We're all playing a role, and it takes most of us a long time before we start to shed all of those BS roles that we kind of put out there for the world to see, and then we get down to the truth of who we really are.
Certainly, and Taika, this is just another home run that your name is attached to. Jojo Rabbit, one of my favorite movies. What We Do in the Shadows, Reservation Dogs. It's just a knockout hit. Interior Chinatown. I can't wait for people to see this. All episodes dropping November 19th on Hulu. Thanks a lot, guys. An absolute scene stealer in Silicon Valley is Jian-Yang. I've loved his career since then. I'm so excited to talk to Jimmy O. Yang. He's now the star of Interior Chinatown. So thanks for chatting with me. And how did you first come across this story?
I was first sent the script, and it was one of the best pilot scripts I've ever read. And then I went back to read the book, usually not the fastest book reader, but I read the whole thing in like a day. I just like related to it so much. Like what you said, like I was on Silicon Valley and now I'm starting the show. That was like kind of the journey that Willis Wu, the lead character, is going through. He literally went from like background actor to like bit parts to tech guy to, eventually he is who he is. But that was just really interesting and really relatable, So I fell in love with the story.
Great to see that you're the leading man of a show now. And I've looked at your career. You are such an important voice for marginalized people in your communities all across the world. It's so great that you're at the forefront of this. What's it like getting this story told on a huge streaming service like Hulu?
I mean, I'm just glad to be a part of it. It started off with Charlie Yu with the book and the brilliant story and all the themes that he tackles in there. Things that aren't, easy to talk about a lot of times, like the invisibility of Asian people, the rejections that marginalized people face all the time, and the internalization of a lot of those things. But he's able to tell it in such a brilliant and entertaining way with the help of Taika Waititi and everyone else and the whole cast and crew. So it's been a really special project. And I think at the end of the day, the show the great part about the show, it's just so entertaining. It's funny, it's action packed. There's a mystery, and it's also heartfelt with all the relationships in the show. So I think that's first and foremost the most important thing about any entertainment, TV or film, right? And then if through the show, if you're thoroughly entertained, and then you can kind of get a sense of how it feels maybe to be an underdog, to be someone that's othered or has dealt with these invisibility, being invisible in the background, then I think it will be quite meaningful.
You stole the words absolutely right out of my mouth, where it's funny and it's mystery and it's heartfelt and it's all the different types of genres. It doesn't just fit in one mold, which makes it such an incredible series. What do you hope for future seasons of Interior Chinatown? Because people are just going to love it.
Every episode, even like I don't even know what's gonna happen in the next one, you know. And when Charlie sends in the script, it was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I hope that's what the audience feels. And I hope we leave you feeling like that at the end of the first season, also, that you want more. And to me, I don't know. Like, I am excited of whatever Charlie creates, you know, if there are future seasons. And I'm as excited as hopefully the audience will be. And that's that's the great thing about it. You just it's so unexpected every episode.
Really is. As an audience member, I'll be watching. I know more people will once they get to see it. Make sure you watch Interior Chinatown. All episodes drop November 19th on Hulu. Thanks so much, Jimmy.